Installing double-ended dreads doesn't have to be intimidating. I'm going to show you an easy way to install these dreads. So what you'll need is your dreads, of course. You'll need elastic matrix thread or some rubber bands. You're going to need clips for control, your shears, and your comb. So to start, we're just going to section our hair, and then we're going to put a clip underneath for control, and we're also going to put a clip up on the top. We're going to take our double-ended dread, and you can see we're using the Dreadlocks dreads that are double-ended, so we have a section at the top that is not backcombed and not dreaded, and that's so it can be as small as possible so that your braid can be not bulky. So we're just going to clip that into place, and then we're going to separate our section into two. Now you can also use water for control here, so you can have a spray bottle handy if you like. But normally that would be a very handy thing to have. So right here, I'm just gonna start a 3-strand braid. Now the important thing to note with this is your section placement. I have this thread so that the bottom comes out and down. This top part, I want to make sure that a little bit of our skinny part is exposed so that it has more flop, I guess you could say. I want it to hang so that it's not kind of sticking up. Sometimes you'll see dread installations where people have installed dreads that are kind of stiff at the top and they kind of stick out a little bit awkwardly until they grow out for a couple days and lay down. The other thing is making sure you watch when you're first starting your braid that you're not starting from way down here, because if you start really low, your braid section is going to hang really low off your dread section. You're going to have a lot of root. So we're going to keep our section so that the hair is coming up and off of the head so that the section kind of starts in the middle, if that makes sense. And we're going to take the 2 pieces that we wrap with to start our braid and go almost straight across. So there's just some things to keep in mind. It's a basic 3-strand braid, but we want to make sure that these are kind of tight. So we're going to start our 3 strands, but keeping them kind of going kind of more across rather than being pulled down. Across. That way rather than down. I'm also getting crosshairs in here, which are starting to really annoy me, so hang on a second. There we go. So we're just doing our braid. I also like to cut some elastic matrix thread so that it's ready to go, so I'm not having to stop and try to hold this and cut at the same time. So pre-cut a bunch of threads before you get started, or have your rubber bands handy at this point. So I'm down to kind of the wispy end, so what I'm going to do is just finish that off. And I'm going to go around once, twice, 3 times, and just kind of pull it tight. You don't want to pull too tight on this. You don't want your thread to snap, but you want it tight enough where you're going to be able to have the control. Okay, so I put in just kind of a basic, simple knot. I'm going to pull this hair because it looks like it's getting a little bubbly. There we go. So I'm going to leave one of these threads down next to the hair, and I'm going to take the loose end, go around a couple more times, and then I'm going to use it to walk down the hair. And all of these hairs would kind of normally, if you didn't tack them down, be hanging off your dread. And I don't like that. I think that personally kind of bothers me. So I'll show you how I take care of it. I just kind of walk the thread down. You can use multiple rubber bands. I find that the elastic thread works much easier just because I don't have to stop and then try to loop the dread back through a rubber band. It's a little bit less bulky in that way. So I'm just looping the other end of the thread back around what I just did to kind of create a little knot. Now I'm going to tie that off. And I'm just going to cut those ends away. So the nice thing about this installation method is that we have a strong center section here where the dread is actually coming off of the center. It's positioned so that the bottom dread is hanging at a good angle. It's not like going in a direction that it wouldn't hang naturally. This top part, we have positioned it so that the dread kind of hangs with a really nice natural hang right off the bat. It's not too stiff, it's not going crazy out of the way. We've got all of the hair tacked down to the side. And what I was talking about with the hair kind of going straight across rather than down, if you braid so that your pieces, you're trying to get the braid in there kind of fast, and so your braid kind of goes down rather than straight across, what happens is this part right here, when you pull on your dread, it'll actually slide down. So if you have a problem with slippage, a lot of times it's just this crisscross motion. So keep that in mind, and there you have it. And hopefully that simplifies the process for you and you have a great install. Removing your double-ended dreads is very simple. We're just going to take the end where we've tied it and snip that. And from there, we're just going to loosen up that elastic matrix thread. Or if you have done multiple rubber bands, you're just going to snip each one and let that fall away on its own. You can cut in multiple places, and that will help it kind of open up. So you're just going to keep cutting that away. And from here, simply unbraid. If you've left these in for up to a month, month and a half, you're probably going to have some shed to comb through at your root base. Just comb all of that out, clean up your dreads, and they're ready to go right back in.